Guys, long time no see. It's been a minute once again as I start every video because, you know, just because. So check it out. Guys, I told you before, I'm not on Facebook anymore, so don't look for me on Facebook if you're going to send messages and whatnot. I'm only on Instagram. So Instagram at Scar Fishing. Don't forget, that's where I'm at these days. I don't go on Facebook because all the political and bullshit that comes along with Facebook, so I'm not on there anymore. Also, be on the lookout for some of you guys may think that you see me on the lake and lo and behold, it's not me. Why? Because some dumb fucking dipshit decided to make a boat identical to mine. Everything is the same. Looks, acts, but it's not me. So, scar fishing, often imitated, but never duplicated. What can I say? So yeah, make sure you ask if you want to say hi before you see me. There's some other clown running around with the exact boat, stickers, the whole 9 yards. It's pretty much identical. So it's not me. I want to get into today. I've been having some guys that have been struggling to catch bigger fish now that post spawn the spawn and everything is pretty much done with. A lot of the fish are spread out right now. They're not in a full blown summer pattern yet, but most of them are. So you got a little bit of fish spread out. There's some shallow, a lot shallow. There's some in mid depths, and then there's some deep. The other day, last time I was out, I haven't been out as much as I usually am. I've only been getting out once a week. But the other day, Ryan and I we went out for about 6 hours in the morning, and we caught them everywhere from top water. Some of the biggest ones were on top. We caught some dragging, and then we caught some cranking. So, I mean, that tells you they're all spread out. We caught them from a foot to 16 foot that day. We ended up with 16 fish and 4 for almost 16 pounds. It was like a 4 pound average. It was a pretty good day. So always seems to happen when it doesn't really matter. This year's tournament season so far has been garbage. Every year I usually have multiple wins. Usually by July or August. This year I just hasn't happened. Bad decisions at the wrong time. I don't know. Just not my year so far. Hopefully we can change things around a little bit. But anyway, let me get into some areas that you want to look. We're going to be back to the whiteboard today. I got a new whiteboard for you guys. It's much bigger than the last one. You should be able to see it a little bit better. And I got different colored markers, so you'll be able to see it a little bit better. But I'm back to work now, so I'm not on the lake as often. So, yeah, I mean, back to work. It's busy. It's good. Making money again. So, hopefully I can find some more time to do this for you guys. It's 9 o'clock at night right now. I'm making one late. Just the only time that I have to be able to do it. So, don't make your boat like mine. Simple as that. You know? Make a boat that's cool. That's your own. Not identical. That would be cool. Anyway, also, while I'm on the subject of clowns, I take people fishing every now and again, when the timing's right and everything. And the past couple times that I've been out with somebody, they'll post pictures after, and say whatever they say on Instagram or Facebook. And then someone won't reach out to me. They'll reach out to the person that I took, and they know that it's this person because I'll tag them in the post. And they'll ask them how we caught them. Don't do that. Don't stalk my people because you can't, and again, I know 99% of you guys are awesome, and I love you all. You guys show me tremendous respect and support, and And again, it's the 1%. There's very, very few, if even 5 of you, that do this. But don't message my people afterwards and ask them a bunch of questions. You know, these people pay to get this information, you know, and they spend their hard-earned money in order to do this, and then you're going to turn around, and since you don't want to pay for it, you're going to turn around and ask them exactly like what they learned and how. Nah, cut that shit off, man. That's like, you're like a poacher, you know what I mean? Like, don't do that shit. So anyway, thank you guys again. I appreciate the support. Again, most of you guys are awesome. It's just that, you know, small percentage of people that just think they're entitled to information and can just, you know, message whoever they want and ask them whatever they want, which you can, I guess, but it's pretty gay. So let's get into this. So this is what you want to look for. If you guys are struggling, because there's going to be small ones everywhere right now, but if you want to catch those bigger than average fish, you're going to have to search, you know, shallow, mid depths, deep. Every day it might be different. But I'll show you the kind of stuff that I'm looking for right now, or that I'm fishing right now, that's gonna help you a lot as far as what to look for. So I do this every time, but I'm gonna do it again and show you because it's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so we're just gonna make up a fake lake. All right, so let's just make just a little round lake, and then we'll kind of, all right, so here's our lake. Let's call it Lake X. All right, okay, now during the spawn, like I said, you're gonna look in these places, right, when they spawn. All right, so obviously you can tell they're in the backs of cuts, they're in the backs of coves, they're protected. I've already taught you all this. So after they spawn, what do? They're going to hang around the same areas for a couple weeks, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, when the bluegill are spawning, because the bluegill will spawn as the bass are and directly after them, okay? Right now, what's happening is there was a shad spawn a few weeks ago. So a lot of the little tiny shad fry, which, you know, I say they're tiny, but they're pretty big. Right now, they're congregating on the edges and inside any grass that they can find. Now, they just sprayed the piss out of the lake. I mean, they killed pretty much every bit of grass that was in there. Whatever reason, I don't know. No amount of emailing or whatever can do anything about it. I tried messaging them directly. They said they didn't spray the lake. Well, I sent the guy back pictures of an airboat spraying the lake like it was goddamn World War I. And he said, oh, well, I must have been off. So they're going to lie. They're going to, you know, do what they do. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do, because the sailboaters, they run the lake and they can fucking say whatever they want to, and they'll do it because they pay the most money. Yeah, it is what it is. So anyway, this is where bass spawn, okay? The shad, they have a hatch now that are in the backs of the pockets, and they're in the grass, and they're moving about too. So if you're around a lot of bait, which you want to be around bait, you're definitely around bass. But the best areas that I'm finding directly after the spawn, going into early summertime, is going to be points. All right, everybody knows points are places to target. Points are going to be good, but what I've found is that, so say we have a pocket back here that's got some grass, right? And the bass spawned back here in this grass, right here, okay? And then you come out, right? Say this is 5 foot or less right here, okay? Then you got 10 to 15 foot here, and there forms a little underwater point right there, right? How are you going to know that this is an underwater point? Because when you're on your boat and you're driving and you're looking at your screen as you're idling out, you're going to see that your screen goes 5 foot, 5 foot, 5 foot, 5 foot, you know, whatever it is, 20 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot, 10 foot, 10 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot. You're going to know that there's an underwater point there because it gets shallower when your boat starts going across it. Sounds like common sense, but some people don't know these things, all right? So if you're idling along and you notice that there's a secondary point, that's what this would be. This would be the primary point. Primary, secondary. All right. Now, once you see that secondary point, what I would do is just idle back and forth, looking on side scan, down scan, whatever you have, 3D, 2D, sonar, whatever you can utilize, right? Say there's a couple cribs on this underwater point, right? These big fish this is a big fish magnet. Every single time in early spring or early summer, these areas are going to get blasted because there's a lot of bait around them. The bluegill that are done spawning are pushing their way out a little bit into 10 to 15. Some of them still in 6 to 8, but a lot of it's in 10 to 15. And these bass are going to use these cribs on this underwater point because it's right next, it's next to deeper water. It's on its way out of the cove. So in the summertime or in the spring, they're working their way in. Remember pre-spawn, all the stuff that I told you in the pre-spawn. Post-spawn, it's going to be the opposite. Going into summer, they're going to start working their way out. This is going to be the number one first stopping point, okay? So if you're catching them here or you're seeing this kind of stuff, this is the kind of stuff that you want to target. Structure on underwater points coming out of the pockets, okay? So if you're catching them here for a while and you stop catching them here, another good place to look, or there could be some at both spots because remember, not all of them are going to spawn at the same time. Some of them have been done for months, okay? So here's another point, right? All points are going to have shallow and deep water access. Here's the second point. This is the primary point, all right? Say there's like rock piles or something out there. Sometimes they'll run even shallower than that. But say there's a rock pile in 6 to 8 foot. Perfect target. 10 to 12 foot, perfect target. 12 to 15 foot, perfect target. So what you're going to have to do, and what I normally do, is start either at the deepest point of it and fish, say that's in 20 foot, fish that first, then work your way in until you're in 10 foot, still on the same rock pile. Then you go in and say there's another one in 5 foot, then the 5 foot one. Wherever you get bit, again, they're spread out right now, but wherever you get bit, now you know if you're going to go to the next point and the next point and the next point, then you're going to know that you're targeting those fish that were in the whatever depth that you caught them in. It's always going to be better if you're seeing bait. If you're seeing bait on your electronics, it's always going to be better. If you're not seeing any bait, chances are there's probably not any fish there, okay? So secondary points with structure on them in 10 to 15 foot, primary structure on primary points with structure in 6 to 8, 10 to 12, 15 to 20. You get the point, what I'm saying. Fish deep to shallow until you figure out which area they're holding at, because every day is going to be different, okay? So now, what am I going to hit these areas with? Number one, jig. Jig is a powerful weapon any time of the year, okay? This is exactly what I have on my boat. 2, top water. Whatever you want to use. Walking bait, frog, chug bug, whatever. Sexy dog, you name it. 3, hair jig. It's going to imitate those shad that have spawned that are perfect size, 3 to 4 inches right now. Easy meal. The bass don't have to worry about it clogging their throats up because of their spines. Easy to get. 4, crank. 5, drop shot. Those are the 5 baits that I'm going to utilize right now in the early summer. Now, low light conditions, early morning, I'm going to throw a top water a lot. What am I going to target? Edge of pads. There's not a whole lot of grass left. If there's any grass above the submerged grass, shallow rock piles, shallow points, shallow wood, all great for top water. Low light conditions, cloudy, rainy days, some days bright sun, doesn't matter. Just try to throw it. Number 2, top water. So hair jig, I'm going to throw a hair jig a lot from 10 to 15 foot. If I'm noticing that there's a lot of bigger ones that are holding in 10 to 15 foot, I'm going to opt for the hair jig. I have a video on how I use that hair jig. So that's definitely going to be if I'm targeting 10 to 15. Another thing that I'm going to be, actually there's going to be 3 of them. My hair jig, a jig, and a crankbait. Crankbait, I'm going to throw a 5XD or a 6XD. 5XD runs to 15 foot, 6XD runs to 19 foot. I'm going to fish the crankbait first. I'm going to, you know, fast moving baits. The more wind, the better. If I get bit on a crankbait and I don't get another bite after that, I catch one, right? Then I'm going to switch to a jig or a hair jig and try to see if there's a couple more that are left there that just don't want to, they're not very active and they don't want to chase anything. So that's the method that I use. The drop shot, if I'm not getting bit on a jig or a hair jig or on a top water or a crankbait, I'm gonna opt for the drop shot. Why? Because it seems like they'll bite a drop shot when they won't bite anything else. So I'm always gonna have that. And you know, also the great thing about a drop shot is if you're looking at your screen and you see a fish that's suspended below bait, you know, I can pick that up, open the spool, and drop it immediately and watch my bait fall to the bottom. So that's another reason why you want to have that drop shot on there all the time. So these are the first 2 spots that I'm going to check, are my secondary points with structure and my primary points with structure. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to just catch fish and you're not worried about, you know, whatever, you would just want to catch as many as you can and hope that you catch a big one. You could just run points, you know, just, you know, obviously some are going to be better than others. The ones that are better are going to be near deep water. They're going to have shallow water access. They're going to have structure, and they're going to have bait. What would make this point perfect is if this creek, I know this is a lot of information, but you can rewind it and kind of go back, kind of jumping around. But if this cove that they were spawning in has a creek and the creek channel runs out right alongside of that before it goes to the main channel, it's even better because you got, you know, a freshwater creek that's running in right next to it. So that's going to be key as well. Another area that you can target, say, you know, again, we're in the spawning cove, right? And then we have a grass edge, right? On a flat right outside of this cove. That's another great stopping point. If they don't stop, some of them will stop here, some of them will stop here, even if, say, they're pads too. Don't hesitate to stop and fish those pads either. Being on a flat right outside of a creek, a main creek, and a main spawning area. So the other day, I'll try to explain it to you perfectly. The other day, our biggest ones came on a grass strip on a grass flat that had a creek channel running directly next to it. So one of our biggest ones came from, say this is a flat right here. It had a creek channel running right next to it, and that grass grew all the way out, and then it just dropped straight down into the channel. So he was sitting here. That's where he ate the bait. And there's literally 15 foot of water right here. So you can see how close that one was. That was the first one. The second one was almost the identical scenario, except instead of a flat, it was more of a 45-degree, halfway out of a creek or a cove on its way out to the main lake with deep water nearby as well. So it seems like when they kill the grass, it takes them a little bit to get acclimated, but I think they're to the point now where they're acclimated again because you're starting to catch a lot of numbers. But when they kill that grass, the first thing they're going to do is go to the first available piece of cover. So if that grass is dead and they have nothing else there, and there's a tree that's out in 10 foot or 5 foot or whatever it is, they're going to come right to that tree where that tree, that's the only thing that they have to hold on to since that grass is dead. So keep that in mind. So really those are my number 3, or my 3 main choices. Now, and that's exactly where we caught the biggest ones. We caught a lot of fish, but A lot of them were in that 2 to 3 pound range. And then the biggest one was 5 flat. And the second one was 4.7. So there's a lot of those 4 to 5 class fish that are hanging around that can be easily caught right now. Another thing is, you guys have asked me, when I pull up on a spot, how do I know what I'm going to throw first? Well, it depends on the spot. It depends on a lot of things. Depends if the wind's blowing. Depends on which way the wind's blowing. Depends on how deep it is. Is it rock? Is it wood? It depends on a lot of things, so that's hard to answer. But generally, if I'm catching them really good on a bait throughout the week, and then I go back, I'm going to start with whatever that bait was, even if it's a jig or something fishing slow. But normally, if I'm searching and I don't know where they're going to be yet, I'm definitely going to go with a crankbait. Because I can feel the bottom real easy. I can feel the structure. I know what I'm fishing, and most of the time they're going to bite it. So that would be probably my number one go-to right now. A hair jig is a really good bait too. I haven't got on a real good hair jig bite this year yet, but it's coming. The best bite so far has definitely been on a crankbait or a jig. And even flipping, you can still flip shallow and catch some good fish. It's not like they all left at the same time. There's a lot of transition fish that are in between, so they're not all where they're going yet. So try these few things, see if it helps you catch a bigger fish, and I want to know about it if you do. I like when you guys send me a picture of the fish that you caught and it's a giant. A lot of those 6, 7, 8 pound fish, they're a lot harder to catch right now, but they're still there. You just gotta search. You just gotta remember, the biggest fish in the lake spawn first, generally. So those fish are going to be further along than some of the other fish. So that class of fish has probably spawned a couple months ago. Therefore, they're going to be already in their summer areas. So don't be afraid to look 16, 18, 20 foot as well too. If you can find some, on the same points coming out of the coves, if you can find some deeper structure out there that's got bait on it, that's going to be a hot commodity too. So I hope some of these tips helped you guys. I'm gonna hopefully shoot something live on the water soon, if I can get out by myself one of these times. The problem is I've had somebody with me. Not the problem, but that's why I haven't done as many of them. But hope this helps you guys. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, don't be that dick. And if you see a boat that looks like mine, make sure you guys ask if it's me first, because just look for the YouTube. That's my water note, my water seal is the seal of approval is the YouTube Scar Fishing logo on the side. I'm the only one that has that. So unless you want to fucking do everything exactly the same and you put that on your boat too, you can't be me. Just it's great, it's cool that you want to, but yeah, be yourself. You're cooler that way. But all right guys, hope I talk to you soon, man. Good luck. See ya.